Hello and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Graveyard. I am Hollis, and today I'm going to break down the difference between an authentic, original US pressing of David Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World and the very easy to find counterfeit copy of the very same album. There are some subtle and some not so subtle differences between these two albums, and I'm going to talk about them so that you can tell the difference between an original. Ah, damn. Before we get rolling, I just want to thank my latest patron. Thank you, Darren. You are one of my all-time favorite people, and I wish you a very happy birthday. If you're enjoying the content I'm bringing you and would like to help support the show, please consider joining my Patreon. It's at patreon.com/popculturegraveyard. And thanks. David Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World, with a cartoon cover, was released in only two countries, America in 1970 and Japan in early 1971. That's it. This is one reason why the original pressing with the cartoon cover is so rare and so hard to find. This album was not successful at the time of release, and so it found its way into cutout bins. Meanwhile, Bowie signs to RCA. When RCA signed Bowie, it bought all of the master tapes from Mercury. RCA then gave this album a new cover and released it in 1972 with a picture of Bowie in his new Ziggy Stardust persona. Sometime after 1972, when David Bowie found fame in America and demand for his pre-Ziggy work increased, a record industry sleazebag, let's just give him a name, I don't know, Morris Levy. Anyway, this jerk, Morris Levy, bought up all the cutout bin copies of this album and sold them. When those pressings ran out, Morris simply made knockoff copies of the Mercury album and sold those. Now, because Mercury didn't own the rights anymore, they saw no benefit to spending a lot of money in a courtroom trying to stop him. RCA also didn't go after the counterfeiter because technically it isn't their version of the album being sold in the cutout bins. It was sort of a perfect crime, and the counterfeiters made an awful lot of money. Incidentally, this is not the rarest or most expensive of the Bowie The Man Who Sold the World pressings. That would be the Bowie in Drag pick that graces the short-lived original UK pressing. Bowie being British, this cover is universally considered to be the official cover, and original pressings of Bowie with the long hair in the dress sell for thousands of dollars, whereas original cartoon cover pressings go for $100 to $200. Anyway, much like the cartoon cover pressings, there weren't an awful lot of the Bowie and Drag covers made, considering how popular he would become, and so the Drag cover album was bootlegged as well. But this cover is very cool. The cartoon was drawn by underground artist Michael Weller, and features a John Wayne-type figure standing in front of Cane Hill Asylum, where, ironically, Bowie's half-brother Terry would be treated for a short time before his unfortunate suicide on the train tracks near Cane Asylum. As you can see in this pic of the actual Cane Hill, Weller created a great likeness of the asylum. Cane Hill's patients were transferred and the property was destroyed about a decade ago, but it's memorialized forever on this beautiful cover. As for the counterfeit copies, they are well done. So well done that at first glance, it's kind of hard to tell them apart. This is mostly due to the attention to detail. For example, on the original, the back cover lists Side 1, Track 2 as All the Madmen, with Madmen as one word. The record label, however, has Side 1, Track 2 as All the Madmen, with Madmen as two words. This is copied perfectly on the bootleg. So what are the hallmarks of an authentic copy of Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World? There are two basic ways to tell. Authentic copies have stamped matrices in the dead wax. Counterfeit copies have etched matrices, which basically means it looks like someone carved the matrix into the vinyl. On the back cover, the cartoon speech bubble, which reads "Oh by Jingo," a line from the Side 1 song After All, is very close to the bottom line of the lyrics of the Superman. Counterfeit copies have a few line spaces between the speech bubble and the lyrics. As you can see, it leaves much more room. If you ask me, the bootleg one looks way more professional. Nevertheless, there are smaller differences as well. You can compare the labels. The official labels, for lack of a better phrase, simply look better. Flat, clean, and well done, with a sort of matte finish. The counterfeit copy labels have a bit of bubbling and the stippled sheen to them. If you hold them to the light, you should see a sort of broken up gloss. There are also 3 short black lines at the top of the album. These are either on the back or the front, but they should be there. But the location of these black lines don't always tell the story as much as the length of them. As you can see on the bootleg, they are far, far shorter than the ones on the official album. One cool thing about the Counterfeit vinyl, it's got a great weight to it. It feels like it's about 150 gram, and it's a real solid slab of vinyl. And here's something that might surprise you. My bootleg doesn't sound bad at all. It's not up to the quality of the official Mercury or RCA copies, but it sounds pretty good. Most people will tell you that their bootleg copy of this album sounds terrible, but occasionally you'll hear someone like me tell you that their bootleg sounds pretty good. Well, there's a reason for this. Once the first run of knockoff albums ran out, the gangsters who were selling them decided to keep the cash cow rolling by pressing up some more knockoffs. Lots of them. And these new knockoffs seem to have been copied directly from a vinyl record, either an original Mercury or one of their earlier, better counterfeits. And those are the counterfeits that sound extra crappy. I suspect it's people with these later run knockoffs who are mostly complaining about the sound. How do you know if you got one of these later knockoff copies? On some of the later bootleg pressings, at the end of the first chorus, during the line, "For I'm quite content, they're all as sane as me," the words "all as sane as me" are missing. When the LP in question was being recorded to tape for later vinyl knockoffs, the original record they were copying must have had a pop or a skip, and they later edited that part out of the tape. It's very deftly done, and it's a smooth enough edit for you to miss it, but you can just make out the beginning of the word "there." As I said though, this is just one way to tell. My counterfeit copy, I believe, is from the original run, as All the Madmen does not have an edit on my copy. So which of these sound the best? For my money, it's the original Mercury pressing, followed by the official RCA Dynaflex 1972 copy. And bringing up the rear, it's The Man Who Sold the Counterfeit Copies by Morris Levy and the Gangsters from Mars. To see the rest of this week's episode, please join my Patreon at patreon.com/popculturegraveyard.